lost 20 pounds. I'm in a pant size that I haven't been in since I was, I don't know, 16, 17. I remind myself it's not about the scale. The scale is a bitch and it lies all the time.
Amen. Hey, so today's story I'm really excited for you guys to hear because for 35 years, Kris struggled with failed diets. She struggled with weight fluctuation. She struggled with chronic stress. She's tried everything from keto to calorie counting to even some miracle pills, but nothing stuck. Then at 54, she decided it was time for a real lasting change. And now she's 20 pounds down, stronger than ever, and more confident in her body and in her mindset. And today she's here to tell that story. Kris, what's up?
Hey, what's up? It's good to be here.
Well, thank you for being here, one. And two, I just want to kind of dive right into it. I want you to share with us, before joining WarriorBabe, like what was your story like? Like what was, not only what you were going through, but also internal dialogue? Like what were your thoughts running through your mind when it came to your body, your health, and your fitness?
Yeah, so I'll go back, right? I grew up in a relatively small high school, and so I was a 3-sport athlete all through high school. I was busy from the middle of August to the end of May with volleyball, basketball, softball, all the things, right? And I was also that kid that loved PE, so I was always doing something for 9 months out of the year. I graduated from high school, and all of that stopped. I went to college, and instead of the freshman 15, I gained the freshman 40. Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. The freshman 40. And I came home, and my mom, God love her, was just beside herself. She wasn't sure what to do, right? Tried to help me every way she could. Did the Jenny Craig thing. Lost some weight, but honestly, I was like, nah, pass. I mean, I did it because she paid for it, and I did it because she wanted me to, but...
How old were you at that time? So you were
19, 20.
Wow. And was that like something your mom wanted you to do, or was that something?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it was her idea, right?
Yeah.
She's like, if you want to, she's like, I'm concerned about how much weight you've put on.
Sure.
If you are willing to do this, I'll pay for it, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
But I think you need to try and get this under control. Now, I like to consider myself my body style was not my mother's. I am built after my dad. So my body was never in the mold of my mom's.
Okay.
And I can remember comments that never done intentionally to hurt me.
Sure.
But I can remember in high school where my mom said at one point, You're in a size 14 pant. If you don't stop, you're gonna have to start buying your own clothes, kind of a thing. Now, I was in a size 14 pant because my thighs were like tree trunks, right? Like
those sports.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I'd have to buy pants that fit my thighs, not pants that fit my waist.
So, let me just unpack that really quick, because sometimes that is where all of the subconscious thoughts, actions, behaviors start from comments of our parents, and they're just doing their best. I totally know that those weren't comments, anything that was meant or geared towards intentionally to hurting you. But how did that make you feel when you heard those comments?
Oh God, I mean, clearly it had a significant emotional impact on me because I still remember it. Here, it's almost 40 years later, and I still remember it.
Mm-hmm. So you did Jenny Craig. Was that same time?
Jenny Craig. I tried doing work. I remember one fall, I lost a bunch of weight in the summer, and it might have been after Jenny Craig. And I went back to class or went back to school, and then I would work out, Stairmaster, treadmill, all the things, but. Being a child of the 80s, being a female of the 80s, I got my senior year in high school. I took a physical fitness, a fitness class, which was supposed to be a weight training class.
What'd that look like in the 80s?
Well, it was, you guys go ahead and lift weights. I didn't have a clue
What you're doing, yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, had I seen people bench press? Sure. I'd never done a back squat. I didn't know how to do a back squat properly. I'm doing some cardio on the Stairmaster and the treadmill, trying to keep the weight off. Anybody that's been to college knows that 90% of what they feed you is carbs.
Yeah. Carbs and fat.
Right.
How much protein?
And I wasn't even a drinker. That's the other part. I gained 40 pounds without drinking alcohol.
Wow.
That's the other thing. So fast forward another year or so, and I decided to take a weight training class in college. First day, they did some 1-rep maxes. And at one point, they made me stop with my leg press because I had done so many reps at so much weight. They didn't want me to get hurt. So they're like, you know what, I'm going to have you stop right now. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Cool. Whatever. Long story short, they asked me to join the power club, or the powerlifting club, which I did for a short period of time until I got hurt. And then I stopped. So graduated from college. And then in the time since then, I have done keto. I have done the miracle pill thing that you see on Instagram and Facebook and all of the places, right? I've tried other fitness approaches like V-Shred and those kinds of, like, similar, like in theory, similar to
I'm going to make a joke about this because somebody said that on the last interview that I did with them last week. And I was like, but WarriorBabe is way better than V-Shred, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure. And in that time, at 29, I was also diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. So I have struggled with weight because of steroids, because of medications, and then losing a bunch of weight because I would come out of remission and have a full-blown attack. And so I've struggled both ends. You know what I mean?
Right. So that was
that
20
wreaked havoc for sure.
Yeah.
On my metabolism. Like at 29, all of a sudden I started losing weight and I couldn't figure out why.
Oh, wow.
Well,
what autoimmune disease were you diagnosed with?
Crohn's disease.
Oh, wow. Right.
And I would be fine for a little while, and then all of a sudden I start losing weight again. And it didn't matter what I ate. I could eat 3,000, 4,000. I could eat 3,000 calories a day of nothing but crap, and I wouldn't gain any weight.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? So, it was tough. It was.
So it was just uphill, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, up and down.
25 years.
I was 29.
Yeah.
And
until when? Until you were 50.
54. So I joined WarriorBabe in May. Now, I will tell
during
you
this time, during that time of the 25 years, like up and down, like trying to get these medications underway and figuring out that autoimmune disease, were you doing any programs during that time to help support? Were you doing strength training? Like, what did that look like during that time?
In my mid-20s, I quit college when I was a senior, and I decided that I was going to do something else. And I was working at a factory, and I started working out with a buddy. And my partner at the time did not appreciate how much muscle I put on.
Sure.
Now, part of the reason I got so big was because I had a lot of weight, right?
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fat there, but then I was building the muscle under the fat, right? And so I got the big linebacker traps, and I got linebacker neck, and I got bigger. In my early days, I ate a lot of fast food.
Would that flare up your Crohn's too during that time?
I think part of the problem, it was hard to determine what was causing the Crohn's and what wasn't. I was smoking. My gastroenterologist said, avoid nuts, avoid seeds, avoid tomatoes, avoid anything that could cause like a diverticulitis kind of a thing, right?
Yeah. When you look back at all of these years of understanding Crohn's and trying to figure that out for yourself, but also like the dieting and the struggling with your weight, what was the most frustrating part to you?
I think the most frustrating part to me was the fact that I knew that the person that I was seeing in the mirror wasn't who I was. You know,
What were the feelings that you were, what, can you unpack that a little bit? Like how did that affect your mindset and how did that affect?
there was a consistent dialogue in my head about how well, clearly nobody wants to be, like, you're not good enough. Like, you're not finding that person that wants to be with you forever because you're not good enough. Or you are failing at figuring out how to fix this. Or like half of the problem was that I felt like there was a time when the medical community failed me. Not necessarily my doctor specifically, but just the lack of knowledge and the lack of guidance that you really got. And again, young and dumb, you don't know what you don't know. In my 30s, my mom did a lot more research on my disease than I did, right? And I think that was probably because in my early 30s, I had an expectation that the medical community would tell me what I needed to know, right? And that's just not how it works anymore, or maybe how it ever worked, right?
What were you hoping they were going to tell you, like how to handle Crohn's and like what?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have had somebody say, here are the things that you should or should not do, and some of that they did, and some of it was my own stubbornness. Like, one of the first things my doctor told me to stop doing was smoking cigarettes. And I didn't. I kept smoking. For 20 years, I kept smoking.
Have you stopped now?
Yeah.
When did you stop?
I stopped in 2021.
Oh, wow.
I had to think about this. 2021, yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel?
It's awesome, but also every time I get a little cough, I go, okay, do I have lung cancer?
So you start spiraling in your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
That's understandable. You did it for how many years?
I started, college. So when I started gaining weight is when I started smoking. Right? Because in my head, increase the metabolism. That's going to go away because that's what my mom did.
Yeah. Your story so far has been crazy. But you're here, which is super cool. Up until 54, right? Is when you joined us. What was like the specific moment or experience that made you like realize that something needed to change?
So I lost my wife.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you. 6 years ago. 6 years ago today, actually. And we never had kids. And I have one brother, and he and his wife never had kids. I have basically been a mama to thousands of children as I've either taught them or had them in my building.
Because share with the people what you do.
I'm an assistant principal at a middle school.
That's so badass. So badass.
Yeah.
So middle school is what, 6 to 8?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're 11 when they get here, and they're 14 when they leave. It's this, scientifically, it is the most growth emotionally, physically, and psychologically that they will do in their life next to birth to age 2.
And you have a direct positive impact on that.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I tell people all the time, you got to be half crazy to do this. And people reply with, "We know you are." So
I mean, I just think about that and think about the things you have to deal with on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
Wow.
It is truly different every single day.
Yeah.
I never have the same day.
But okay, so going back to that, the one experience that no, you're good. I'd love to hear that. Well, the one experience that made you realize that,
So my a friend of mine had her second daughter, and she was born about 4 months before I lost my wife. And she asked me to be her godmother. And from the time that child was born, she has been, A, the light of my life, but B, fearless. And she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, completely different than mine, but basically caused her pain for probably since the time she was born. And until she was able to verbalize it, they didn't know what it was. And so I decided that in order, and Carrie has told me numerous times that when Bridget is a middle schooler, she's sending her to my house because she won't be able to, because she'll be too much for her. I'll be the only one that will be able to handle her. But, and I think that's done jokingly, but that just kind of speaks to the kind of kid she is. Like her strength and her resilience. I watch her, she enjoys everything she does, whether it's softball or gymnastics or basketball. The kid rode a 2-wheel bike by the time she was 2.5.
Oh, wow.
So she is just fearless. And I thought, I don't have kids of my own, but if I want to see this child come to become the adult that she clearly is meant to become, I need to do something to change my life so that I make sure I'm physically able to be there.
Oh.
So that's really the reason. And it's interesting. I told, when I decided to join WarriorBabe, I told my onboarding, I don't remember who it was, but I told the onboarding rep that I thought about WarriorBabe a year and a half or 2 years earlier.
Wait,
And
how did you find WarriorBabe? Like where
so I found it I think initially I found it on Facebook. I think the first time it was on Facebook, but being a middle school administrator, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have TikTok. The only thing I don't do is Snapchat.
Okay. Oh, I feel like all the middle schoolers are on Snap. Well, maybe high schoolers.
Well, middle schoolers are on Snap too, but I get too overwhelmed, and I'm just like, nope, I can't.
That's fair.
So I had found WarriorBabe, I think on Facebook first, and I had actually had a phone call. I actually set up a phone call and had a conversation, an initial conversation with someone about my why and about all of the things. And at the time, I just wasn't ready to commit. For whatever reason. I don't remember the reason, honestly. It was, maybe it was the timing. It was right after Christmas. It was one of those things, I need to do this, but I wasn't ready to actually commit. And the person that I spoke to said, if you're not ready to commit, this is a significant monetary, investment and buy-in. So you need to be sure this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fair. And I appreciate your honesty. So I'm going to think about it. And if I decide I'm going to go, I'll call back, kind of a thing.
Okay. So it was like a year and a half, you said?
So that was a year and a half, I think, before I actually joined WarriorBabe.
What happened in that year and a half? Like, what did you do in that year and a half?
Well, I got through my grief from losing my wife. I started lifting with a trainer. 3 days a week, 1 hour a day. He would put me through progressive overload and all of the things. And I was building muscle. It was great. I felt amazing, right? But I wasn't losing the fat. I wasn't losing the fat. And part of that was, when I started, we talked about my goals, and my goals was to build muscle. And so he started me on 1975, I think is where he started me on my journey of calories. And
was
to be
he
honest,
just focusing on calories at that point?
yes. So it was he was a calorie in, calorie out guy.
Oh. What do you think about it then, and what do you think about it now?
Well, then I was like, everything that I knew about losing weight was calorie in, calorie out. That was what I was taught.
That's fair.
First time I heard about macros was Facebook with Nick Stott. That was the first time I heard about macros, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I should, maybe not the very first time, but in that space, in that effort to improve fitness and body composition, that was the first time I had heard it. When I wasn't seeing a body shift, I mean, yes, clearly, mass moves mass, right? So, yep, I was back squatting 210. I was deadlifting 235. Yep, I was doing those things. And at 52, I was like, hell yes.
That is some weight.
Right. And I was 52 at the time, and it was like, all right, cool. But we would do weigh-ins every 6 weeks. And I'd step on the scale, and I would weigh more. And I would weigh more. And I would weigh more. And I knew enough that I knew that the muscle is denser. So therefore, that's part of the reason I was putting on the weight. But part of the reason that I wanted to do the weightlifting was to shed some of the fat.
Sure. And
it just wasn't. And his response to me was, then you need to do more cardio.
Oh, man.
And I have a knee that has had an ACL reconstruction. I have another knee that the doctor has said will need to be replaced. During my training with him, I tore my rotator cuff.
Oh,
so
man.
I have a rotator cuff that needs to be fixed, that I'm not in any hurry to do, because that's 4 to 6 months.
Jeez, man.
So I am.
Did you do more cardio? Did you listen to him do that?
No, I did not do more cardio. I stuck with the way I stuck with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I tried to pay more attention to my food, right? So I got rid of soda. I tried to get rid of a lot of the sugar that I was consuming, or the fast food that I was consuming. Because part of my conversation with him was, okay, I need to change my food. Food is 80% of the problem, right?
Yeah.
What is that? I said, I've heard some things about macro counting. Should we look at that? And he looked at me and he goes, no, that's garbage. That doesn't mean anything. I was like, okay. Dude, I trusted him to know the things because he went to school to do to be a trainer. So
sure.
Fitness, so health, and all of that stuff. And he was a college football player. So I knew he had experience in the athletic space.
Yeah.
Like that kind of athletic space. So I probably gave him a little bit more.
How long did you stick with him? Did you stick with him for the year and a half, or how long?
I lifted with him for 3 years. So I was almost 3 years. It would have been 3 years in August. So I was with him for 2.5.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then what initially drew you back to WarriorBabe a year and a half after, or your first call?
My drawback was after that second call that I made. My drawback was Bridget, and deciding that I needed to do something different, and B, I started listening to your podcast. I started listening to the Macro Hour because I was like, okay, this interested me before. I need to do some more research. I need to get some more information, figure out what this is about. Maybe, honestly, maybe I can do this without doing the actual program. Maybe I can learn enough through the podcast to do this on myself.
Do you think the podcast, with all the things that you're listening on that, is it pretty fair that you totally probably could?
Right. Well, so I did. So I started listening to the Macro Hour in January, and I would listen and I started at the beginning. I listened to the very first. Yeah, by that time you were already in year 2.
Oh, wow.
But I listened to every single podcast. That's all I did for the first 3 months, was in my car on my way to and from work, was to listen to the Macro Hour. That's all I did.
Wow.
And so in February, I decided to try and do it on my own. So I did. And I lost
How'd
20
that go?
pounds.
You lost 20 pounds?
Yeah. By
Not
myself.
yet in Warrior Babe?
Nope. I lost 20 pounds.
Just by listening to the macro hour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What
Absolutely.
specifically did you do
So
different?
one of your episodes, you talked about being in menopause and figuring out your fats and your, like, I went with the what's your goal weight? Eat that many grams of protein. And then how many grams of fat should you have in menopause? And then kind of went with what where my calories were with my other trainer, and kind of went, okay, I think I've been eating about 1,500 calories is what I think I've been eating.
Yeah.
And so I got the protein figured out, I got the fat figured out, and then I figured out how many carbs that was left, right? And
Let's go.
so I lost 20 pounds from February until probably the beginning of May. So it was about 2 months, probably.
Wow.
March, April. Well, 3 months. Maybe it's 3 months. Anyway, I lost 20 pounds before I actually joined WarriorBabe, and then I was like, okay, he has brought me as far as he can bring me.
Sure.
I need somebody to help me with this. I need somebody to help me with these adjustments now. Because I quit losing weight, and I wasn't seeing a change in my body comp. So I was like, okay, I need to do something with the food. I got to change it. So that's when I made my second call to WarriorBabe, and got my first coach, and kept my trainer for about 6 weeks as a transition, just to help me with form and function and all of those things. And after about 6 weeks, I was like, I said, I think we're good. He's like, yeah, I said, I know you feel kind of weird just standing here watching me do the workouts somebody else has given me. So
Yeah.
I'm cool. We're good. And so I stopped with him, and I have only been with WarriorBabe since the end of May.
May of
Or, sorry,
2024.
only with WarriorBabe since the end of June. Sorry.
So June of 2024.
I joined WarriorBabe May of 2024, and I stopped with my other trainer a month later.
When you joined us, was there anything that you had already done a lot of the work yourself? Was there anything you were skeptical about when you joined the program?
No,
No.
frankly, because I had lost 20 pounds doing my version of macro counting. And I think, honestly, Nikki, because I spent a year and a half between my first call and making that second call, I was very focused on, and because I'd listened to the macro hour, there were things that I was very focused on paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And
What were those things that you were paying attention to?
So I think a lot of that was, okay, surely 100. Now I am a girl that loves her protein. Like, I do not have a problem getting my protein in a day.
I love that.
So when people are like, I can't eat 160 grams of protein, I'm like, really? Because I feel like I could eat 200 grams of protein if I wanted to. But I was a meat and potatoes kid growing up, so not a big deal.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I was the most skeptical about was the amount of fat that I could eat. That was probably the biggest thing.
Why?
Because I'm a kid of the 80s. All I heard, I mean, I was born in 1970. All I've heard from 1970 to I don't know, for my entire life is how fat is bad for you.
Yep, fat will make you fat.
That's right. Fat will make you fat, and it doesn't matter if it's avocado or if it is like beef fat. It doesn't matter. Fat is fat, and it's all bad for you.
I love the narratives that have happened in the 80s and all what you women carry throughout now, and I just hope that WarriorBabe is a part of breaking those narratives.
Well, I mean, I will tell you that I have conversations with people all the time. The number of people that have stopped me in the hallway and said, "What are you doing? You look amazing." And I go, "I'm counting macros." You're what? and then I tell them, WarriorBabe's the program. Check it out online. Like I am an actual advertisement for you. Like I just like right there.
Thank you,
Here
Kris.
it is. Listen to the macro hour. You're going to get really good ideas. All these things. And I have a custodian who I'm actually strangely writing her
That is
stuff for her.
beautiful. Since joining, and you said June, right? Where are you now in your journey?
I wasn't part of WarriorBabe more than a month and a half, and I got in on the July 4th sale, and so I
Nice.
extended so I've already extended for a year. I've lost an additional 20 pounds since joining, but
You're
the
gonna make me
best part,
cry.
the best part, honestly, the best part is the fact that I'm in a pant size that I haven't been in since I was, I don't know, 16, 17.
What size?
Well, okay, so here's the deal. I wear men's size clothes. I don't wear, I mean, men's clothes. I don't wear women pants because they don't have enough pockets for me.
Okay.
So I started this journey when I first started counting my own macros. I was in a size 42 waist pant. I am now in a size 32 waist pant.
That's down 10 pant sizes.
Mm-hmm. And I am, I went from a unisex extra large sweatshirt. Now I'm either in a smaller or medium, depending on the cut.
Oh my goodness. I just got full body chills.
Yeah, it's
cool.
incredible. I look at myself in the mirror and I go, "Who are you?" Because I still can't believe. I mean, I've basically been and I like my coach Lindsay will tell you that, like, my weight has not moved, and there are times where I get a little annoyed and bummed, and Lindsay has to go, "Okay, here we go. Here's where I see it. I see it here on your ab definition. I see it here on your back. Like she has to help me see it because I don't see the change, but it's there."
Yep.
Right? Clearly it's there because people keep saying things to me. And so, I remind myself it's not about the scale. The scale is a bitch and it lies all the time.
Amen.
Like,
Amen.
I got on the scale this morning and I was,
Especially because of you have muscle, So like you're to
do.
step. Yeah, look at that flex. Let's go. So, but to see body composition changes despite the number on the scale, like that is a huge testament to the success that you're making.
yeah, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, and I have, I have to tell a quick story because, nothing is funnier than watching 13-year-olds look at you and go, "Hmm?" I was walking down the hallway one day and I was going to the fitness room and I had like a half, like I had a muscle shirt on, right?
Yeah.
And I was walking down the hallway and there were some kids here after school and they're like, "Miss Weiss, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going down to the fitness room." And they're like, "Are you going to go pump iron?" And I went, "Yes, I am." And they, like, mouths just dropped. And I said, "Yep."
Yeah, and they gotta be looking at you like if my assistant principal can be going lifting some weights and like
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, if I retire in 3 years, and honestly, if I can make an impact on some of these kids to recognize that it's okay to go lift weight because it's only going to make you stronger.
Yeah.
Do it now. Like, don't wait until you're old like me to do that stuff.
The thing is, you're not old. You're still you. to think about where a majority of 56-year-olds are at and where you're at now.
Yeah.
You're way ahead of the game in terms of you've added years to your life with what you've been doing over the last couple years.
Yeah. I have.
That's freaking badass. That's
Yeah.
awesome. How
Very
are you
excited.
now with like, okay, so you had those type of physical changes, also mental changes too as well. I love what you wrote in your application. You wrote that the confidence in your daily life. Like, what does that look like for you
Yeah,
now?
I was, there's I don't know that people necessarily realize this. There is a significant opportunity for you to have bad spinal issues if you don't stand up straight, right? And it's not just about standing up straight. It's also about looking up. I have spent at 55, I can admit this, but I have spent a good portion of my lifetime looking down. When I walk, I don't look straight forward. My eyes tend to look at the ground, not forward.
And now?
And that's impact. And now, are you kidding? I am standing up straight, and I almost worry that people might think I'm trying to look badass, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I used to get,
You just gotta walk with that stature, like that confidence. That,
yeah,
like,
and there was a time,
you are
there was a time
badass.
when I did. There was a time when I did. Like, I can remember when I was 12, I walked like that. I was 12 years old, I walked like a badass. And then I got picked on for it. So, also part of the mental, right? Like, I was, it's not unusual for kids to get picked on when they're younger, right?
Totally.
I got picked on.
Me too. I got called a man, and I still do on my ads
Yep,
nowadays.
I get called a man all the time, but I got called Amazon. The kids would call me Amazon lady because I grew faster than everybody else.
Oh, wow.
I've been the same size since I was 12. I've been the same height since I was 12.
Wow.
And
How
so
far
I
are
was
you?
the tallest until I wasn't. I was the tallest in my class until I wasn't.
I resonate so hard with that.
Yeah, right? So
But now you stand taller. Now you talk more confidently.
I
you
do.
believe in
I stand
yourself more.
taller. I talk more confidently. I used to have an issue. You put me in front of 1,000 kids and I can talk all day long, but you put me in front of more than 10 or 15 adults and I am a bumbling fool.
Re-
That's changed even. I can even do
Wow.
that better now. Strangely.
Let's go.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be in control like that way? Like to be in control of your mindset, be in control of your fitness, be in control of your health.
This has been good for me in lots of different, in so many ways, truly. It's not just about the physical. It really is about the mental and the mind. I now have the mindset that if I think about what I've done in the last, even in the last 3 years, but in the last 6-8 months, what I've done and the impact that it has had on me has been nothing short of miraculous as far as I'm concerned. Because most women get to this age, and I'm in menopause, postmenopausal probably, but people get to my age and they automatically assume that they can't do things.
Mm-hmm. They're like said that like the best years are behind them.
I mean, yeah, sure. It took me longer to build this bicep than it does a 20-year-old to build this bicep. I mean, I'll be honest with you. My goal is to have Nikki Stott arms and shoulders. So
Let's go. You're well on your way there, Kris. You're looking good.
I told Lindsay the other day, I said, this next phase, I want to work on my shoulder cut. Come on, let's go. And she was like, okay. I've been doing a lot of raises, baby.
How much food are you eating now?
I'm actually at just short of 2,100, I think. We just did a bump last week. I'm at 215 carbs, 70 fats, and 115 protein.
You know,
150
a 56-year-old that would be hearing that right now would probably be shitting herself.
Well, it's funny. So my mom's 75. She's I love my mother. But when she saw me for the first time after I joined WarriorBabe,
Yeah.
she was blown away. And every time I see her, her grin is just bigger and bigger and bigger because I think she sees the difference in who I am, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. And all of the things that she wished for me when I gained the freshman 40 have finally happened, right? And I keep telling her, you could do this.
I just interviewed a 75-year-old last week.
Right. And I said to her, I was out, they winter in Arizona. So I was out there for Christmas and I took my bands with me. Lindsay gave me a band workout and I was out on the porch doing my band workout. And she comes out and she's like, really? That's all you're doing right now? And I said, well, this isn't what I do every day. I actually lift weights every day. But yes, there are people that this is all they do, Mom. This is how they lift because they don't have access to a gym or all of these things. I said, they meet you where you are. That's the plan. I said, you could do this if you want. And she's like, no, I can't. Why not? Because I need someone there to tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. Okay.
But why? You can go even deeper. But why? I'm sure you do that with your kiddos. But why?
Oh, of course I
but
do.
Why?
Yeah. But at 75, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not arguing with my mother. Like that's a path down to
I feel
lost
you.
time. So
I feel you. Maybe she'll be inspired if you share that podcast with her. She can hear it from another 75-year-old.
maybe I should. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I actually did think about that the other day. I don't know if she'd listen to it, but I can always send it to her.
Yeah.
I should totally do that. Yeah.
So yeah, but here you eating 215 grams of carbs and 2,100 calories.
I never in a million years thought I was going to eat 215 grams of carbs.
That's crazy. Well, what's your relationship like now? Because you didn't know what macros were. Now, how do you feel about macros?
Oh, are you kidding? I talk about macros to anybody that'll listen. They're like, Kris, I don't understand. How did you do this? You really want to know? Well, yeah. Okay, here it is. And they're like, wait, what? Yeah. It's a thing. I said, but here's the thing. You got to figure out what you're eating now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first step is to figure out what you're eating now. And like I've got a friend who I've been trying to help do macros on her own. She's been listening to Macro Hour, all of the things, and I'm like, Sarah, you have to do this. Like, you can't do it halfway.
Yeah.
You either commit to the macros or you don't commit to the macros. And we had a conversation a week ago where I said, look, nobody says you can't have pizza. Have the pizza. But if you know that your Friday night is pizza night, then put it in Friday morning, Thursday night, whatever, and then you eat the rest of the day around what you were going to have for dinner.
Let's go, Kris.
And she's like, wait, I can do that? Of course you can do that.
Yes.
I mean, when I started WarriorBabe, I did the Nikki Stott 4 pieces of dark chocolate every night.
Let's go. I love that.
And that was the first thing I put in my Fitness Pal every single day because I couldn't give up my chocolate.
Thank you for sharing the message and spreading the message.
Like there is nothing wrong with, you're going to have something, you're going to have fettuccine Alfredo tonight. Fine. Put it in there.
Yeah.
Eat the rest of the day around it.
It's only as hard as you make it. Like
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. I am not the recipe girl. Like I am not the 5-course meal girl. I bulk make all of my protein on Sunday.
That has literally been the most consistent statement that I've been hearing in the interviews is that you'll eat the same thing almost every day and you don't want to have to, you're not a cooker. Like I'm the same way, you know that in the bag. I don't want to cook, but make it this silly, stupid, simple and eat the same thing every day. And it's prime pathway for success.
Yep. I have 2 different breakfasts that I'll have. And then I have the same second meal, same third meal, same fourth meal. And then dinner will be based on what I have left after the rest of the day, right?
I love that.
I figure it out.
Heck yeah.
Sometimes I need an extra tablespoon of peanut butter.
Isn't that the best?
It's the best.
You can just scoop it up with your
Kidding me?
spoon.
Oh, I need some more peanut butter.
I love that.
It's amazing. I love it.
Well, Kris, I mean, it's been so cool to hear your story and to be able to chat with you one-on-one. It's definitely very inspiring, and I thank you for putting in the work and the effort, and then you're just being a ripple effect for those that are around you and in your ecosystem and bubble.
Yeah, I hope that I am able to continue to do that for people. I mean, that's kind of who I am as a person, as a helper and a fixer, I guess. But like, this has been. Thank you for not necessarily figuring it out, but taking the knowledge that you have and you got from your fitness journey and turning it into something that everybody can use. I think that's anybody that asks me, that's what I tell them to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody right now that's watching and they're thinking about taking the next step, but they're unsure? What would you tell them about WarriorBabe and the impact that it could have on their life?
I think the thing that there would be so many things that I would tell them, but we have so much. We only have so much time. So, I think the biggest message that I would send is that you will never regret the work that you put into yourself and improving how you feel about yourself. And WarriorBabe can help you do that.
I love that. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you,
Your
Nikki.
story has been incredible, and I know it's going to inspire so many women that are listening to this. I always say, like, you could change one person's life by you just being here and having this conversation with me, and you're already doing it in your life as well. So I just thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for proving that it's never too late to take control of your body, build strength, and create. You're creating, like I said earlier, you're adding more years to your life. You're creating lasting change, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So, and anybody that's listening, if you guys are resonating with Kris's story, you can do this too. The answer is yes. Check out WarriorBabe.com. We've got you. But Kris, thank you so much for your time, and you're hilarious. And thank you for the work that you do. Like, keep at it. Keep at the lives that you're inspiring. Keep at the journey that you're on for yourself.
Thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that.